Overwatch just got a ton of crazy announcements, and the future of Overwatch is a bit bleak. So in this video, we're going to summarize everything that has happened, talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and tell you what is going to happen for the future of Overwatch. But if you enjoy this content and want to support the channel in desperate times, smash the like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Now, first up, let's talk about the good news, the good stuff that is happening, and there is actually a couple of good things that are happening. Number one, Overwatch is coming to Steam, which I think is a really good thing. There's a ton of players on Steam, a ton of eyes. A lot of people are going to download the game or try it for the first time. I can't imagine that most people are going to give it a great review, but I do think that people walking into Overwatch for the first time ever actually do have a legitimately good experience with the game. And I also think that having less places for you to have to download a launcher to download a game is just like good for everybody, and most people use Steam. So I think this is a win-win for pretty much everyone. Now, the other thing that is happening is the Activision-Microsoft deal is going through. And some of you are a bit apprehensive about this deal because you're pretty jaded about Microsoft and you don't like the big corporation or the big conglomerate kind of gobbling each other up, which I completely understand and I agree with for the most part. But one of the big things that is happening, or at least leaked to happen, is Bobby Kotick is going to leave. And for those of you who don't know who this is the CEO of Activision Blizzard and one of the people semi-held responsible for a lot of the negative aspects of Blizzard over the last maybe 5 to 10 years. Now, this ranges from things such as mismanagement of games all the way to things like sexual assault in the workplace and everything in between. A lot of that is linked to Bobby Kotick. And regardless of what happens to management and how things move around once Microsoft acquires Blizzard, I do think that this at least is going to be a really, really good thing for the future of Overwatch and all the Activision Blizzard IPs. Now, the third thing that we got to talk about, the third good, is that Season 6 is just around the corner. With PvE, although not what we were promised, still something that is going to be substantial, prop on a new hero. It's Blizzard's big swing, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit, but it is a good thing that a huge amount of content is just around the corner. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows here. We got to talk about the bad, and then we're going to talk about the ugly, where things get a bit tricky. But in the bad, Overwatch League is most likely dead. Overwatch's premium esports league is facing a rather tenuous future where every team gets to vote on whether or not they will continue or end the league, and if they do, every team gets the enticing termination fee of $6 million per team. And that is probably just too sweet for any of these teams to decline. Overwatch League has already had money problems in the past. It's hard enough to have an org make money in the first place, and they're given a really clean way out with a lot of money on top of it in a very, very hazy time of Overwatch, Overwatch's future, the game's future, the company's future. I think even if Overwatch 2 was popping off, I still don't think that they would say no to this offer. So while it's not for sure, it's most likely. And I'm not going to celebrate this, by the way, because a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of pro players are not going to be able to play. Coaches, people that run Overwatch League, casters. There's so many jobs that the Overwatch League houses, and there's so many people that their lives are going to get altered by this change that I want everyone, even if we're celebrating the league dying, which we'll talk about in a second, you got to have a little bit of empathy for those people. So just keep that in mind. But it is also important to understand that I think personally that this is a fantastic thing, mainly due to the fact that I think the Overwatch League was a mistake from its inception, and it was one of the reasons why Overwatch actually had a huge amount of decline. A lot of decisions were made around the Overwatch League. Overwatch kind of pivoted to push this league artificially. Instead of letting an esports scene grow organically over time, it didn't. It created this big league with massive paychecks, forced everyone to kind of hop on board, canceled a lot of the smaller big tournaments, and no longer allowed smaller tournaments to have big prize pools. So that basically killed the tier 2 scene, created a huge artificial divide between tier 1 and tier 2. And if we look at the Overwatch League today, there's not even really a legitimate way to become a pro player because the tier 1 is so far away. There's nothing you could do. You could flat out win whatever our tier 2 is, which is contenders, and you would still not get inducted into the Overwatch League. So this system doesn't make sense from a competitive standpoint. It is something that I think a very small percentage of the audience even cares about. If it wasn't for skin drops, no one would really watch it, or at least a very small amount of people would watch it. There's been a huge allocation of resources into the Overwatch League as a whole that was just not needed and not that important. And really, this pro scene should have just been created organically, allowed to foster by itself before ultimately maybe leading into something like Overwatch League, maybe not, but I do contribute a ton of the problems that we have faced in Overwatch to the Overwatch League. And I'm someone that used to be a super avid and rabid fan of Overwatch League, and I still think that today it's probably better off gone than not. Now, it getting canceled means that we can return to something with more community cups, more big tournaments, more prize pools, and while I am sympathetic to everyone that is missing out on a ton of money and opportunity and their whole lives are going to change because of this, I do think that it's a good stepping stone and the right step forward for Overwatch. But the other bad is the problems with ranked, making this game less fun to play than ever. At least for me personally, I think that ranked is in the worst state ever, and I've talked about a lot of the issues in a previous video, the lack of transparency, the imbalance, the inflation, the deflation. There's just so many different problems that are happening in the ranked system. When you take someone like me, who Overwatch has been my life, and I've played this game religiously since just after beta, non-stop, and through all of the imbalances, all the crazy metas, all the problems, I could not put the game down. And these days, I find myself not really grinding the game all that much. Not even really wanting to grind. And I'm honestly left in a really weird spot because this channel, what I do with Overwatch, whether it's coaching, whether it's making content, this pays my bills. I have a whole family that I'm the single bread earner for. 2 kids and a wife and a little rat dog. And yeah, we rely on this stuff. But right now, I'm enjoying Overwatch less than I ever had before, and it definitely sucks because I want to like it. I want to love it, and I want everyone else to love it. I want it to be fantastic, but I just don't feel like it's there right now. And I want to make this clear, though, that I'm someone, like I said, that have been playing this game since, I don't know, past 6-7 years, and I'm probably a bit burnt on the game, especially with some of the problems that I feel like are step backs, not step forwards. For those of you who are new to the game, who are picking up the game for the first time, or you're still enjoying the game for whatever reason, don't let me or anyone else convince you to not enjoy Overwatch. I think it's really easy to jump on the train where people are hating a game, and then you jump on it with you. But yeah, I've probably spent like, I don't know, a ridiculous fucking amount of hours in this game, like probably like 7,000-8,000 freaking hours. At this point, any normal person would have put down the game already anyways. So yeah, don't listen to me. This is just my personal opinion, but I'm just being real about my feelings about the game, and those problems are legitimate. Even if you're still enjoying Overwatch, you still probably understand that those problems exist. Now, let's move on to the ugly. According to an article by Investor.com, we got news that in the quarter that just happened for Overwatch and Activision Blizzard, we have saw a decline in people playing the game. Overwatch always wants consistent growth, and it's always basically had consistent growth until now, and this is a huge step back where people are actually leaving the game for the first time. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I feel this. Less people are interested, less people are watching videos, less people are grinding the game, and I think especially when we're right off the backs of all that negative press that we received from the PvE debacle, it's a no-brainer that Overwatch felt that really hard. And really, it's going to be very difficult for Blizzard to win back a lot of the people that are just blown in by this negative just wave of information. And I don't blame anyone. It's almost impossible not to get swept up in it. And the problems are legitimate, like I said. So what does this mean? This goes back to Season 6, which is where the PvE is going to be seen for the first time. All these big changes, all this new stuff that is coming to the game. PvE is make or break for Overwatch. It is the singular most important season for probably Overwatch's entire history. And I'm talking about Overwatch as well. If they don't nail Season 6, if they don't put to rest a lot of these big problems, if they don't over-deliver, and if Season 6 isn't an absolute banger, then Overwatch is going to have a lot of problems. I think that, especially because this is the first time that we're going to see PvE in its state, whatever that is, whatever is actually created, not what was promised, but what is delivered, and all this other stuff that is coming to the game, all these big features, all this stuff, if they deliver on it, there's not a chance for a 180. I think the ship has sailed, but we could start the turn slightly. And put us on the trajectory for positive changes from here on out. And I think that could be a really big deal and a really good thing. But ultimately, if they flop this season, if they whiff, if they fail to deliver, if PvE sucks, if there's monetization problems, if the new hero is just broken and unbalanced, there's more balance changes that makes no sense, and the season feels hollow, I think that that could be the beginning of the end for Overwatch, period. Like, I think that we would have multiple months from then on out of decline and decline and decline, and that's just terrible. I think it's terrible because we all know Overwatch's potential. We all know Overwatch could have been the greatest game ever, of all time. I personally think it could have been the greatest game of all time, and looking at it now, it doesn't even look close. But, I mean, yeah, it's just sad. It's sad to me. It makes me mad. It makes me angry. It makes me depressed. But, yeah, I still think that there's some hope, but we're going to have to wait and see how the Season 6 pans out. And, yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the stuff I said in this video. If you want to still support me outside of Overwatch content, please, please, please subscribe to my FPS channel. Links will be in the description down below. That's where I'm going to post just general FPS, gaming, news, takes, hot takes, all that stuff. So, yeah, still posting on this channel, of course, but that's where y'all can also support me. But, thank y'all guys for being here. I really, really appreciate it, and I'll see y'all next time.